All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to University of Phoenix Educational Equity Webinar Series. Today's topic is LatinX leadership, how to employ, engage, and elevate talent across generations, cultures, and differences. We are looking forward to hearing from our speaker today. This series was created with the hope to foster a learning environment where we can explore paths to empower individual action toward greater unity and impact change. As a higher education institution with more than 56% of underrepresented students across different industries, we see it as our responsibility to carry on these conversations to facilitate thought-provoking conversations as well, to prepare and encourage the practice of inclusive leadership in a culturally complex society. So before we get started, I here would like to include a couple of housekeeping items. We highly encourage you to engage in the chat, connect with one another, share your LinkedIn profile, any helpful resources related to the topic. We definitely will be sharing the chat script along with the recording. So don't worry about making sure you're writing notes of everything you see. We will be sharing that with you all. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your control panel at the bottom of your screen. Your questions will be brought up at the end, and we may also have time for additional Q&A depending on where we're at with time. So joining us today, we have who the Society of Human Resource Management recently called Inclusion Innovator, recognized as one of the top 100 executive leaders by Diversity MBA magazine, Miguel Joey Avilés, an international D&I thought leader with over a decade of experience in government organizations. During this session today, Miguel will be sharing with us strategies to ignite belonging through allyship, mentoring, and self-empowerment to ultimately employ and engage our Latinx talent. As we say in Spanish, con ganas y sabor, with an energy and passion that only Miguel can bring to the table. Bienvenido, Miguel. Without further ado, we'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much, Sarai. And I want to welcome everybody across the world. Please go to the chat and tell us, where are you joining us from? Because I want to see where are you with me today. So let's see what we are getting. We have participants from many areas, and welcome to this presentation. And I see a lot of people from Arizona, Dallas, Georgia, California, and many other areas. Welcome. Let me ask you a question. Are you ready for your next personal Everest? That was the question that my mother had to answer in 2017. I am originally from the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, and that's where my name and this flavorful accent comes from, Miguel Joey Avilés. And I grew up there. My entire family lives in a town called San Sebastián, Puerto Rico. In 2017, Puerto Rico experienced one of the worst hurricanes in history. I didn't hear from my mother for over 12 days. I didn't know if she was one of the over 4,000 people that died before, during, or after the hurricane. 12 days. If you're familiar with the Hispanic community, you know that moms, they will call you every day. They will connect with you every day. So for over 12 days, I didn't know what was happening. I had to send someone in a mission to find out if she was okay. And after a few hours, because there was no telephone signal, I heard and I received the news that my mom lost absolutely everything in the process. I had the opportunity to travel to the island 3 months after. And I arrived to the capital, San Juan, and I had to drive around 2 hours to get home. It was late in the evening, close to midnight. I was not expecting nobody to welcome me home or nothing. Maybe my mom to give me a hug and a kiss, and that's it. But to my surprise, I want to show you the following video so you can see how I was welcomed. What you are listening in the background is over 30 family members welcome me home with flashlights and yelling, "The electricity is here, the electricity arrived," and all this joy and all this excitement. And in the background, in the dark, I know the video is dark, you can see my mom coming to me to give me this hug that only mothers can give. And as she is hugging me, she said the words that changed my life forever. She said, "Boy, I have never faced something like this," because she spent the hurricane without a roof. She said, "I have never faced something like this, but let me tell you something. I am alive. We are alive," as she was hugging me. And she said, "As long as I am alive, I will make it count." The pictures that you're seeing on the screen right now are of her with all her belongings. And you can see the amount of destruction. But in times of crisis is when we are able to see leadership shine. And that's what LatinX leadership is all about. It is about the power of family. It is about the power of community. It is about the belonging that we achieve as communities during times of crisis. My mom, which you will hear throughout the entire keynote, is a leader in the community. She helps hundreds of people. She's a motivational speaker and just like I am. And after the hurricane, she had not only to recover herself, but she had to help others as well. This was a few weeks and months after a decade she helping the community. So what I want to share with everybody is we are living on crazy complicated times right now. And let me tell you, LatinX leadership reminds me that the colors in my soul and the rhythm in my bones are blessings. And I come from a combination of Taínos, Africans, and Spaniards. We have inherited this trait from our ancestors. So today, I dedicate this closing of LatinX Heritage Month to all the families that still pass the recipes of arroz con pollo, rice and beans, and to all those people that have come before us, because their legacies are in our shoulders. And we continue moving forward to help our community across this country and to continue making this a great, great world. So with that, I welcome you to the LatinX Leadership Keynote Webinar. And I want to ask you to please stand up, wherever you are. Wherever you are, please stand up with me. I'm looking. Let's take a pause because we have been in this virtual world, in sitting in a computer. Please stand up. Stand up. I'll wait for you to stand up. Looking at you. And the next slide, I'm going to give you a reminder. And as I give you this reminder, I want you to just shake it. And if you cannot shake it, just join with your hands, join with your arms, join in some way, maybe with a smile. Because let me tell you, little bit.
Todo aquel que piensa que la vida es desigual tiene que saber que no es así, que la vida es una hermosura.
All right, with that, as you check it a little bit, sit down and let's all come and learn together. So I want to share a few housekeeping items before moving on. There is an RQ code. You can take your phone, open your camera, close it, and then the website will come up. Or you can go and visit the website right there in below. I believe we're posting the website on the chat, and there is a workbook, there is a presentation, and other research materials that I highly recommend you to take action. So the workbook, you can use it to take notes, you can print it, you can use it to come back later. So I ask you to please visit it, get a copy, and then join me. Here is the agenda for the day. We have 3 different steps that we are going to complete to go through the 3 E's of culturally intelligent talent management. Each one of these 3 E's will help us to employ, engage, and elevate talent across generations and across cultures. That is the plan. I ask you to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me an email, post on Facebook, take pictures, engage with us as you go, write in the chat as we learn together. So the first step is employ, the first E. Employ, opening the doors of opportunity. It is the summer of 2007, and I applied to a summer internship with the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, HACU. And I applied, and you know that they keep sending you updates of application processes and all of that. And at some point, they sent me an email, Miguel, 95% of the vacancies have been occupied. So basically, I was planning to stay in a home for another summer. My job at the time was cleaning restrooms in a retirement home. But then all of a sudden, I get this call from a weird phone number. And it's a lady. And the lady is speaking English. And as I am listening, I'm like, the only word I heard was the word selected. That's all I heard. And my reaction was, yes, that's all I said. That's all I remember. But guess what, my friend? I accepted the internship program, but I didn't know how to speak English fluently at the time. In my mind, I thought I had like 3 words, like yes, no, and hello. In my mind, I thought that because it was, I couldn't speak. I grew up with salsa, merengue, rice and beans, and speaking English in my household was not part of the deal. But I accepted the opportunity, and then I figured it out. To my surprise, when I arrived to Washington, D.C., I quickly learned that I was a minority. And in my mind, I was like, a minor what? I immediately was categorized as a Hispanic, as a millennial, as this person outside of the country. And I also learned that I had a fat accent. Yeah, my friend. I went to order some chicken nuggets and I said, I want chicken nuggets. And the lady looked at me and she said, ooh, you have a heavy accent. And I looked at her and I said, excuse me, whatever you hear, I don't have an accent. And please, whatever you are hearing, don't call it fat. Because heavy, in my literal brain at the time, heavy and fat. And I said, no, she didn't. But then that summer was the adventure of a lifetime. And the first E is about opening the doors of opportunities. And at the time during that summer, I remember that I struggled. I struggled quite a bit because I couldn't communicate openly. And I had a supervisor, my first supervisor ever, that week after week, she came to my desk and she asked, Miguel, are you ready to speak during one of the staff meetings? And I said, ma'am, I'm not ready. I'm too afraid. I was too scared of opening up because I couldn't understand, because now I knew that I had an accent, because I couldn't express myself correctly. I started to shy away. And at that time, when we entered in new stages in our lives or in our careers, we get afraid. And at the time, I let fear take a hold of me during some of those first weeks. I want to ask you something. When was the last time you did something that scared you? When was the last time that you didn't really know what was going to happen, or that you were so uncomfortable that you couldn't really manage the situation well? I want you to picture that time and write and share what were some of the feelings that you had. Some people will say fear, some others will say concern, some other will say limitations, no, doubt. What other things? Not good enough, imposter syndrome. And I let all those things starting closing my voice. And those items got in the way that is the importance of having allies and mentors in your life and in your career, because as you face challenges, there are many things that will try to stop your voice, stop who you are, stop your identity. And at the time, I had to fight with all of that. I remember I even had a breakdown in Spanish with my supervisor. I knew she couldn't understand what I was saying, but she kept doing this and doing this and doing this. But she supported me. And she supported me not only by giving me the opportunity, but by coming week after week after week and ask, are you ready? Are you ready to engage? And what I want to ask you today is, as you have the doors in front of you, the doors of opportunities, are you walking in? Are you walking through? Or which doors in your career or in your life have you ignored because you had limitations, because you had fears, because you had doubt, because you have imposter syndrome? As underrepresented talent in corporate America and across the world, we got to step in. And there are two components. We have the allies, but then we also have ourselves. After 10 weeks, I said, ma'am, I'm ready to speak. I'm ready to speak. 10 weeks it took me. And in that meeting, that's when I started my career as a speaker. Because I learned the power in my voice, the power in my stories. It's not so much about perfect language or perfect words. It's about who you are and what's your story. So what doors do you have right now in front of you that you need to walk through? Or which doors you need to open for others? After that, I said, here I found my passion. I was the only Hispanic in the office, the only millennial in the office. And I said, how is this possible when I know there is so much talent in the field? And I went back and started finding talent, finding people, recruiting through special diversity recruitment programs in Puerto Rico. And with that, over 200 millennials and kids started their careers, all because I decided to walk through an open door that a Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities opened for me. So the first E is about creating those opportunities. So as we go, there is important to understand that as we have open doors, we also have door blockers. We are dealing now with systemic discrimination, with oppression, and bias. And right here on this slide, I included 3 research that we don't have time to cover in its entirety, but they are in the website that I created for you all. The first one is minorities have degrees but don't get hired, by USA Today. There has been big issues right now on this topic because there are many leaders that are saying, well, no, we cannot find the minorities, or we cannot find the talent because they're not there, where in fact, they're there, they're just not getting hired. Number 2, the effect of Hispanic accent on employment decisions. And this goes to the point about bias. This research by the Journal of Managerial Psychology found that individuals with a Hispanic accent, when compared with individuals considered with the standard accent, same qualifications, same amount of experience, same background, individuals with a Hispanic accent were found less suitable for the job and less suitable for a potential promotion, all because they had an accent. Number 3, why don't we believe non-native speakers? And that talks about the influence of accent on credibility by the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology. This study found that we tend to not trust speakers that have a different accent, so credibility decreases exponentially when there is communication that doesn't sound familiar to the listener. Those 3 studies are just to share with you that the opposite to an open door is to a blocked door. And right now, that's systemic discrimination, oppression, and bias. Let's watch a less scientific evidence type of video.
My name's Jose Zamora, and I had to drop a letter to get the title. Every morning I wake up, go on Craigslist, and apply to as many jobs, every job that I feel qualified for. About 50 to 100 a day for months. No phone calls, no emails, nothing. One day I just thought, what if I try Joe? Just remove the S in my name and maybe I can make some dollar signs. The Monday I decided to go from Jose to Joe. 7 days later, the next Monday, that's when all the responses started coming. That's when all the replies and the emails. The position is open, we want to meet with you. Call us back. I was applying for the same exact jobs, the exact same resume, the exact same experience, just a different name. Sometimes I don't even think people know or conscious or aware that they're judging, even if it's by a name, but I think we all do it all the time.
So another example is the story of Honorable Sonia Sotomayor, the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. If you're familiar with the story, her background is remarkable. Ivy League educated, many job experiences. And in her book, My Beloved World, she shared her experience when interviewing for one of her first jobs right out after a law school. And these are the 3 questions that she got asked during the interview. Do law firms do a disservice by hiring minority students who, for the firms know, do not have the necessary credentials and will then fire in 3 and 4 years? Will you have been admitted to the law school if you were not a Puerto Rican? Were you culturally deprived? She shared those questions in her book. That's an Ivy League educated individual leader in the community. So just imagine for a second the kind of oppression and systemic discrimination that we may not be aware. And that's why the first E is so important, because we either open the doors to others if you are an ally of the community, or if you're part of the Latin community, Latinx community, what kind of doors do you have in front of you that you're not walking in because you are afraid? And the evidence that I just shared with you through my story, through the research, says, listen, the world will always say you will never be ready enough. And what I want to share with you today, do it anyways. The word, we need a space on the table. We need you to get a space on that table. And as you go through your career, whether you are a mid manager or even a leader, you will always have detractors and you will always have doors blocked. You will never be ready enough. Do it anyways. And the way I want to close the first E, employ, open the doors of opportunities, is to say that every challenge holds your next promotion. Face it. Every challenge contains a hidden treasure. Find it. Every challenge has the power to help you level up. Embrace it. Open the doors of opportunity, either for yourself or for others. That is the first E. The second E is engage, becoming fluent in human. So from that internship program, I went to move on to a set of different challenges. So several years passed, over a decade passed, and I now got offered my first senior manager position in a global organization. Sounds good, right? It sounds pretty decent. Well, I go ahead and accept the opportunity. And during the first couple of months, the expectations were high, the agendas were crazy. I was traveling all over the country, conference after conference, meeting after meeting. I had a team of people retiring. I was hiring new people. It was a hot mess. People were complaining. And I don't know about you, but I am hyperventilating a little bit here, you know, because what I found out is during all this time, I found out that I was operating within a toxic workplace. But guess what? Who was the leader? I was the leader. I was the manager. I was responsible for it. So I want to ask you a question. Have you worked in toxic workplaces before? It's a yes and no questions, and we are going to pop up on the screen. So tell us, have you worked in a toxic environment before? You know, at the time when I was going through this, I thought a toxic workplace environment was like the worst things, like people are fighting and there is harassment, there is bullying, there is all these horrible things. So as a first-time manager, I was like, what do you mean by toxic environment? I'm sweet, I'm nice, I like people, but look at that, look at those results. 94% of you all have experienced working in a toxic environment. So guess what? You are absolutely right. I have data to support that. Look at that. The final response, 94% said yes. So as we can see, the slide deck will show you that 96% of employees say they have been treated rudely in the office. 37% of workers said they have been bullied at work and that the majority of those bullies were bosses. And 80% of bullies in the workplace affect 5 or more people. Look at that. Toxic workplaces cost $23.8 billion in the forms of absenteeism, healthcare costs, or loss of productivity, and more. So yes, at the time I was hyperventilating because as a first-time manager, I had to go and learn what make toxic workplaces toxic. So the first descriptor is there is workplace tension. You can literally feel the dense air when you walked in. Low morale. Sir, morale is at all-time low? Good. Lack of recognition. You have people taking recognition from others or people working really hard and not being recognized. We have toxic leadership, and we have 3 examples there that people are quite familiar with from movies. You know, we have a sense of grandiosity and that I'm perfect and you're here to serve me. And lack of work-life balance. Like, what's work-life balance? What are you talking about? So those 5 descriptors truly showcase what a toxic workplace is. And here is what I learned. Because after you walk through the opens of opportunities, and as a manager, you start, and then the E is engaging. How are you engaging with people? And the goal is to become fluent in human. Guess what's the problem, my friend? The number 1 detractor of D&I, diversity and inclusion initiatives, are toxic workplaces. So when we ignore toxic workplaces, our diversity and inclusion efforts, our engagement efforts, our recruitment efforts, all of them get affected by the culture of our organizations. And often leaders think that toxic leadership is a workplace environment rampant with harassment, bullying, discrimination, workplace violence. But the truth is that there are many other behaviors that we don't see as harmful that get in the way. And here in this slide, I'm highlighting a few important things that describe what a toxic workplace is. And right there, I shared this checklist with you in the workbook. You have it in the presentation. And there you can see all the indicators that really described a toxic workplace. And the bottom line, an unchecked toxic behavior is the most lethal enemy of people strategies in our organization. So if you're a manager or a leader, this is particularly important for you. The symbol right in the corner, the life symbol, that represents that item is particularly important during this COVID-19 season. So I ask you to complete this list, but then not only I'm giving you the toxic workplace checklist, I'm also giving you a checklist to engage talent across generations and cultures. There are 3 things that I recommend everybody to engage with. Strive to find similarities and connections. In other words, common ground. And I have highlighted the ones that I truly appreciate, which is seeking feedback, dissenting opinions, and overall input from your team. Once you have that common ground, demonstrate authenticity. And an example that I share is share and talk about past failures and lessons learned openly. And then third, ignite D&I courageous dialogues. Seek understanding from minoritized perspectives is one example. So when you join these three strategies, you can then start improving toxic workplace environments by engaging with your people, becoming fluent in human. As leaders, as employees, as members of the community, we are the tool. We are a tool to drive change in our organizations and in our communities. So a very important strategy as we move forward is finding joy as you learn to become fluent in human. Becoming fluent in human means that you increase your cultural intelligence, your inclusiveness, your ability to work with anybody. And let me tell you, that is very, very difficult. It is hard. You will make mistakes. You will learn. You will have to figure it out. What is your style? But I want to ask you to engage through the process. And that's the second E, learning to engage with the complexities of becoming a people person, a leader, and fluent in human. It takes time. It takes trial and error. But what I want to share with everybody is that we cannot have toxic leadership, toxic work environments anymore if we want to be relevant in the future. So that's where diversity and inclusion and justice and equity come into place. Because as change agents within our organizations, we need to start looking at systemic discrimination, oppression, and bias. So once you open the door, you employ, you bring the talent, you engage with the talent, you become more fluent. Then now what? Then the last E is elevate. Intentionally uplift all. So let me tell you another story. It's a big story throughout my career. When I was starting my first job as a leader, I got a challenge of going out and lead in different organizations, right? They said, Miguel, you need to get out and get more experience. I said, okay. So I go out and apply to this national president position of a nonprofit organization. It's like an affinity group, and you apply and you become better, and you volunteer. And they had two different boards, and each one of the boards had prestigious individuals. One of them had senior executives, presidents, highly competitive, very impactful people. And I applied, did my thing, but then I went and did the second interview with a second board, the important one, but that were like my peers, people my age, people with my same experience, and did the interview. They gave me the job because they were the board that took the decision. But I wanted to know what the other board thought, the board by presidents, senior executives, and all these remarkable people. And I said, let me see what they said. Well, guess what? They didn't want to give me the position. They said that I was not ready for the position. And I was like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? And to my surprise, because I had connections, and I don't know about you, but I have connections. And I said, hold on a minute, I need to find out, what are they thinking about here? And why are they saying what they're saying? And through my connections, I found unfiltered feedback that I was not supposed to see. Over 15 pages of feedback. So when you receive 15 pages of feedback, you know that people feel in a certain way. And as I went through this process, I started learning what uplifting all means, what elevating all means. And here in the screen, you can see different descriptions, sense of belonging, courage, teamwork, agility, commitment to D&I. These are different strategies that you use to elevate people, but one of them that I would like to highlight is humility. And humility is the combination of courage and vulnerability. Courage to know that you're not perfect, and the vulnerability to deal with it. And at that time, I received those 15 pages of feedback. And I sit right here in this little corner that you see in that chair. And I sit and I started reading and reading and reading. I think I spent like 3 days crying just reading the feedback, because I was like, what do you mean that I'm not perfect? I'm perfect. I mean, what are you talking about? And I looked to my wife and I said, honey, these people don't love me. So guess what? I don't love them neither. I'm not going to take this president position. I'm going to quit even before starting. And I don't know about you, my friend, but I'm blessed with my partner. And my partner looks at me and she said, honey, with that voice, honey, let me tell you, feedback is a gift. It's up to you to take it or not. And those words hit me real hard. And I said, you're right. I went back and read the feedback and read it again. And the feedback was transformational. And that's what I'm talking about when we want to elevate people. If you are an ally, find ways to mentor individuals in their community so you can give them wise feedback. And when I talk about wise feedback, is that you are upfront, you keep people to high standards, but here's the key. You truly believe that that person can level up to that standard. That is wise feedback. And wise feedback is extremely important to deal with cultural mistrust in our organizations and in our communities. So as we move forward, just summarizing the entire presentation, what do we need to do to elevate talent through strategic diversity and inclusion management? And in the right, we can see the different program effects on management diversity. And we have several strategies like diversity training, diversity evaluations, etc. But you can see that mentoring is the #1 strategy to elevate talent. And it is impactful for many underrepresented groups, particularly for Hispanic women. You can see the impact of mentoring. And what I can share with you as a diversity and inclusion leader is that I have seen these 3 strategies work greatly for diverse talent: mentoring programs, leadership development, and ERGs. Why? Because each one of these initiatives push our participants to elevate, to level up, to become better, and we give them the tools to do so. So I have some action planning for you. I want to ask you to individually select 3 to 5 specific actions that you can work on to drive these inclusive conversations to elevate talent in your organization. And this is across generations and cultures. So I want to highlight the one about sharpening your listening skills by confirming what you understand as a listener, let members speak without being interrupted. And then here I give you questions because I believe there is power in questions. Like, how can I ensure you feel respected and heard? Feedback is so important. Conversations are so important. And each one of these programs that I mentioned here, all of them bring participants a new perspective. And I firmly believe that a new perspective can give you access to your next breakthrough. So what actions can you take for you? You can write this in your workbook. Which actions can you take to elevate talent across generations and cultures and to engage more with people? So here is the summary of LatinX leadership, how to employ, engage, and elevate talent across generations, cultures, and difference. Number one, employ, opening the doors of opportunity. Number two, engage, becoming fluent in human. And number three, elevate, intentionally uplifting all. This is a basic introduction, a high-level introduction of our culturally intelligent talent management model, which it looks at culturally intelligent strategies founded in justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion that are culturally relevant, generationally fluent, and empowering to achieve belonging. Each one of these strategies, stories, all of them are connected to improve talent in our organizations. So now we have 3 minutes to answer questions, and here is where we engage. I have some questions in our email box, and one of the questions is, what happens when you request feedback and receive nothing back, whether in person or email? Maybe we work in a field where we try to be nice. How should one address this? Absolutely. A mentor of mine shared that feedback is a gift, like I share with everybody. And like any other gift, it brings a cost. And when you give feedback, you care. So if you are not receiving feedback, you're probably in a situation where maybe values are not aligned, or maybe the receptor really don't truly care. So my recommendation is to find different avenues for feedback. And I will check, am I, as a feedback receiver, am I making people comfortable to give feedback? Am I asking clearly for it in different ways, not just simply give me feedback, but perhaps asking a question? And in the checklist, I gave several questions that you can get started. In my experience, these are the strategies that I have seen work the most. Number one, 360 assessments. Those are anonymous, those are private, and you send it to several people. And often in my experience, you will get answers to those. Second option, you directly ask the person, but then work in the relationship to make it comfortable. And then number three, if you don't receive feedback, then to my coaching clients, I recommend, we'll take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. And ask the question, hey, am I doing X, Y, and Z that affects you in X, Y, Z way? And let them react. Those are just 3 strategies for your consideration. The second question that I have here is, what are tools or ways in which an employee can initiate a conversation with direct management about the toxicity of a workplace without seeming ungrateful or argumentative, particularly when it has been hinted at the employees should just be happy to have a job. Absolutely. I have been in those situations in the past where that perception is there. And my recommendation there is creating a psychological safe environment. And psychological safe environment is where people can bring questions, issues, without being concerned of being reprimanded or judged. And Google conducted a study that found that psychological safety is the #1 predictor of high-performing teams. So my recommendation for you is, if you feel that your job is going to be in danger, find an anonymous way to give feedback. And many organizations have these tools and tools that you can offer your feedback privately without being connected to it. Some people will say, that's not good, you're not being courageous. So my second recommendation is to be brave. And be brave is very easy to say it. It's very difficult to do it. But the ability to engage in those crucial conversations is a very special skill. So if you want a better workplace environment, I highly encourage you to embrace the moment, be brave, and engage in the conversation, and focus in the problem rather than in the person. Thank you so much for the questions. I believe we may have space to maybe, yes, please.
There's a couple other questions that we've received. So in referring to the previous question that you had, if you can expand a little bit more, how do you approach a hostile workplace if your manager doesn't realize they are part of the toxicity?
Yes, I have been there. And that was the story that I shared at the beginning. You can see this bubbly personality, I never imagined that I was operating in a toxic workplace environment. And I will beg you, whoever is asking this question, and I don't know your manager, but I beg you, speak up. Speak up. And go directly, very respectfully, and shared your concerns, shared your recommendations. Maybe you have a potential solution. Share it with that person and bring examples. Hey, this happened in this particular day, and I felt in this manner, and I ask you, here are some recommendations for your consideration, and just give them. Awareness is key to improving your leadership style and workplace environments. If your manager is not receptive, then that's another challenge that hopefully the organization has systems in place to keep that manager accountable. Thank you for that question, Sarai.
We have a couple more, and I think we do have a little bit of time. So when challenges arise, what keeps you motivated to move forward and make change?
One thing, purpose. Purpose is what keeps me moving. I am a global D&I leader, and the times that we are living right now are simply unmanageable. The day-to-day interactions that I have to deal with, I get hate calls, I get pushback, I get resistance. I will not stop if I keep going talking about that. And at the end of the day, purpose gives me the power to dream, the power to love, the power to have peace, knowing that when I operate in purpose, you can and you always will. Purpose is my motto. Space for one more question. Sorry.
All right, so let's, there's a couple here in the Q&A, and we will follow up with questions that we couldn't get to. But this one, how do you navigate toxicity and or harassment that's coming from other Latinx folks?
No, thank you for that. And I have experienced that as well. And I will tell you this, and I will be straight. No one should experience harassment. No one should experience bullying in the workplace. No one should experience sexual harassment neither. So one situation, one incident is too much. So speak up, share the situation with the person, with the organization, and make it official, because I believe that no one should experience that in a workplace. So that's step number one. So I will recommend, first, speak up, share your experience, embrace the person, have a heart-to-heart conversation. Try it once, try it twice, it doesn't work, make it official. Because if you speak up, you're probably protecting other members in your team. But that question, Sarah, it gets to a deeper issue, which I don't want to ignore, which is the dilemma even between the same communities. And I have heard that often. You know, it's like, how do we fight each other when we should be united moving forward as one community? And I want to encourage everybody the following. We are living in times when we need to create community. That's what kept my mom alive after the hurricane, the power of community. So let's ignore our difference in character or in approach and embrace those differences to move forward as a community. It's very easy to say it, but it requires humility. It requires being fluent in human. It requires opening the doors of opportunity for you and the community. It requires you to be an inclusive leader. I appreciate the questions, Sarai, greatly. And I do have some closing remarks, if that's okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much all for the questions. We will follow up. And here is how I want to close this speech. I want you to imagine for a minute a mother with her small child, and they just learned they lost absolutely everything. Their house, their car, their family. At the time, my mom, in her desperation of finding us a home because we lost absolutely everything, she moved us to a community adjacent to the project in San Sebastián, Puerto Rico. And life as I knew it changed in its entirety. My mom went into a deep, deep depression. She stopped dreaming, she stopped believing. And I could see my mom as I was 8 years old, crying day and night. But then something happened. She saw a need in the community and she said, my purpose in life is to help other women achieve more, start their businesses, believe in themselves. So she started working in her own nonprofit organization. And she was operating within an environment of a national organization. And she submitted a letter to the president of that entity asking to be recognized as a minister of this group. She called a meeting, and I was part of that meeting. And when she asked the president, why are you not acknowledging my ministry? Why are you not supporting me as a member of the community? He said, in this organization, you can be married to a man, and be part of it. You can be the wife of a pastor or the wife of an evangelist. We will never recognize your ministry. At that time, a Mom stood up with fire in her belly as a Latina, and she said, no, not me, not here. What am I supposed to do with my call, with my talent, with who I am? And she stood up. And I want you to remember those pictures that I showed at the beginning with her and hundreds of women. By example, she showed people called aggressive, keep being assertive. To people called you're too difficult, to keep telling the truth. To people called too much, to keep taking up space. To people called awkward, to keep asking the tough questions. And to those called bossy, or who you think you are, to keep on leading. Keep on leading.
Hasta luego, profesor.
The human heart beats approximately 4,000 times per hour. And each pulse, each thought, each population is appropriate. And today, in words, you are still alive. My friends, wherever you are seeing, wherever you are joining me, remember, you are still alive. And as long as you are alive, make it count. Please connect with me. Here's my contact information, and it's so good to be with you all today. Please share questions, pictures, and engage with me. Let's make it count. Is that right?
Wow. Wow. I'm speechless. Gracias, Miguel. You've left us inspired, motivated, and ready to level up. So thank you. Thank you for your incredible presentation, for your energy. And I want to encourage everyone to use that workbook. It's an incredible gift Miguel created just for us. So please, please use it. Have it next to you at your desk. It's something that will be handy and you can use to create change. We will be sending out the recording. We'll be sending out the workbook, all the links, all the resources shared throughout the chat. Make sure you all sign up for our next webinar next month on November 19th on tribal communities, veterans, and entrepreneurship. Make sure you don't miss that. Thank you all. Thank you, Miguel, once again. And we hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.